Good evening and thank you for joining us. The cross-Canada protest, known as the Freedom Convoy, has arrived on the outskirts of Thunder Bay at this hour. Hundreds of people are traveling across Canada in opposition to a federal vaccine mandate for transport drivers crossing the border. These photos were taken around 5 o'clock in Quequebeca Falls. The caravan of about 400 vehicles will make a pit stop for the night near Twin City Crossroads. The convoy passed through Dryden just before the lunch hour and was greeted by several hundred supporters along the route. The OPP have been monitoring the protest and counted more than 100 rigs and nearly 300 smaller vehicles as they crossed the Ontario border near Kenora last night. Constable Brittany Bembenek says from what she saw, it's been smooth sailing.
Approximately 75 to 100 people in small groups, kind of lined up on the highway, the roadways, supporting the convoy. But everything that I did observe, it was very orderly and peaceful.
As mentioned, the convoy is staying in Thunder Bay this evening before continuing east toward Ottawa early tomorrow morning. We'll have a full report on our late edition news. Another person in the Thunder Bay district has died of COVID-19. It's the 74th death of the pandemic and the 4th this month. The health unit is also reporting 143 new infections since Monday. There are now 302 active cases, down from 355 2 days ago. There are still 41 COVID-19 patients being treated at the Regional Health Sciences Centre, the same number as yesterday. That includes 6 people in intensive care. The hospital's occupancy rate now sits at nearly 104%. The occupancy rate in the ICU has fallen to 77%. This morning, the Northwestern Health Unit reported 0 COVID patients in any of its hospitals, but that changed by the afternoon when Sioux Lookout's Menayawin Hospital declared an outbreak. It's in the South Pod wing of the inpatient unit. 2 people there have tested positive. Both cases are presumed to have been acquired in hospital. The Northwestern Health Unit currently has 300 active COVID-19 cases, up from 274 on Tuesday. The 7-day positivity rate has dipped from 25 to 23.5%. The Omicron wave was originally expected to peak in late January, but Dr. Kit Young-hoon says the NWHU isn't quite there yet.
Percent positivity is increasing, so that needs to be monitored closely to see if it will eventually come down. We'll also need to look at hospitalization numbers because the peak of hospitalizations tends to occur after the peak in case numbers. So that I don't believe we reached our peak at this point.
Young-hoon is encouraged by the district's high vaccination rate with a 55% uptake in booster doses and kids 5 to 11 at 57%. They'll soon start offering in-school vaccination clinics to those with parental consent, but the NWHU is looking to scale back large vaccination clinics early next month. Premier Doug Ford now says there's no end in sight to Ontario's mask mandate. Despite the pre-Omicron assessment that masking could be eliminated on March 28th, the timeline is now far less clear. Colin DeMello explains.
There is a stillness inside Ontario restaurants, food waiting to be cooked, owners on the lookout for customers.
Before, a lot of people come here for the lunch and dinner, sit here and dine here, but nobody's sitting now.
But the owner of a pair of small restaurants in Toronto is once again hiring and preparing for a reopening next Monday.
If there is no more lockdown or any more restriction, I hope this will be good and we can build the business back.
The Ford government says it is forging ahead with the economic reopening, despite the fact that there are still 4,000 patients with COVID in hospital, 600 of whom are in intensive care, and despite the fact that non-urgent surgeries in Ontario are still being postponed.
The government is silent. I mean, there's simply not a word being said about how we're going to get through the backlog of surgeries and procedures.
In spite of all of that, the government is planning to slowly roll back restrictions beginning next Monday, fully reopening the economy in mid-March. One measure the Premier isn't making any promises on, though, is mandatory masking.
I can't say anytime soon. You know, I think it really protects people.
The Ford government had initially indicated the mandatory masking mandates would end before April. That was before the Omicron variant hit, sidelining the government's timelines.
Just imagine that, this is going to be around for at least the winter and maybe the spring.
Masks have become a divisive issue in Ontario, leading to mass protests over the mandatory rules. Now, with widespread usage and relative acceptance, political leaders say it could be the last measure to be removed.
When it is prudent and cautious to take it off so that we have no chance of sliding backwards into another kind of lockdown.
Masks will still be a requirement when restaurants reopen for indoor dining, whatever it takes, they say, just to reopen.
We just have to walk through the fire. There is no other choice, right? It's not only me, it's like whole city, whole world.
Hoping they can finally open for good, unrestricted by a global pandemic.
That was CTV's Colin DeMello. The province has reportedly told City of Thunder Bay officials that an answer is coming very soon on a much-needed mental health and addictions crisis centre. Mayor Bill Morrow says that assurance came during this week's virtual Rural Ontario Municipal Association, or ROMA, conference, which wrapped up yesterday. Morrow first broached the subject with Associate Mental Health and Addictions Minister Michael Tobolo in 2019. And Tobolo received a formal application from lead agency St. Joseph's Care Group a year ago. But Morrow says the conversation was, quote, more pointed this week.
The data is there from the coroner's office, the public support is there, the municipal agency support is there. And so we need an answer. We need it yesterday. And I reminded the minister that the time is running out of the hourglass in terms of approaching an election. And there's only a couple of months left before, as a government, they will be in a position where they will no longer be making announcements. So I was a bit hopeful, to answer your question, that he said we could potentially expect an answer very soon.
Thunder Bay's Roma delegation included the Mayor, Intergovernmental Affairs Committee Vice Chair Shelby Chung, and City Manager Norm Gale. They also lobbied the government for more money for infrastructure, police services, and the development of Pool 6 lands, among other things. Well, the Scotties Tournament of Hearts is now just 2 days away, and despite the absence of spectators, officials with Tourism Thunder Bay still expect a lot of positive exposure for the city, coming from the wall-to-wall coverage on TSN. The CDC has also commissioned several promotional videos and commercials to run during the broadcasts. Jonathan Wilson reports.
We look up to them. I want to be a champion like they are.
We're ready for another Northern Ontario team to win the Scotties.
This is one of the promotional videos that will be seen across Canada during the Scotties tournament. CEDC Tourism Development Officer John Cameron says they hired a local company to produce 3 one-minute videos along with a series of commercials. And this one focuses on our rich curling history.
We put together a great video that's using our curling champions to promote our city, and it's been well done, and I think once it airs, it's going to have a great impact.
Everybody's practicing, everybody's trying to get their game up.
She's going to hit that right. It was something that you could believe you could do. It became a realistic goal for people from this area to think that they could play at the national level.
Fort William Gardens has been undergoing a big transformation in the past few days. Unfortunately, Scotties viewers won't see any fans there, at least during the round-robin portion, but people across Canada will still see a lot of Thunder Bay during the TSN coverage, as one video captures the area's natural beauty and attractions, and another one shows why our famous curlers love living here.
It's been part of my lifestyle since the day I was born, spending every summer at camp and then curling all winter. It's just perfect.
We're almost spoiled how good the fishing is around here.
Cameron says it's hard to place a dollar value on the exposure for the city, but he estimates the 10 days of TSN broadcasts, along with national media and social media coverage, to be worth over $10 million.
Everybody forgets about the earned media value that comes with national television and showcasing your community to the nation and across the world through the internet. And I think that shows that Thunder Bay will show up well in the presentation by TSN. And I think it's something that we have to look forward to a future bid.
Cameron thinks Thunder Bay could win the right to host the 2025 Scotties due to the pandemic restricting fans this time around and costing the city around $5 million in hotel stays and other economic benefits. Meanwhile, Curling Canada has now agreed to reduce the hosting fee paid for by the CEDC's Hotel Tax Fund from $400,000 down to $150,000 due to the ban on spectators. The curling begins on Friday evening. Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.
Well, speaking of exposure, Thunder Bay's Heartbeat Hot Sauce will have a chance to catch the eyes of stock car racing fans this spring, thanks to the company's first NASCAR-related partnership. The popular hot sauce maker has become well known for its unique marketing strategies. It will now be the primary sponsor for NASCAR Xfinity Series driver Ryan Ellis. His number 45 Chevy Camaro will compete at the Talladega AG Pro 300. Xfinity is NASCAR's minor league circuit, but the race could still reach a few million American viewers on Fox Sports. Company co-owner Al Borbahakis says the car's design fits with Heartbeat's simple brand and style with the logo right on the hood.
My hope, and I told this to the team when we first started talking, is that I'd like to set something up that could become potentially an ongoing partnership. So whether it's that we do another race later this season, or more likely we get on with a race next season, possibly move up to another series, or possibly have a longer running sponsorship. We might try and do this every year. We'll see how it goes.
Well, that race at Talladega Superspeedway is scheduled for April 23rd. So more positive exposure for a great Thunder Bay company. Well, Fiona